Jericho can't get out. Hank can't get it up. And Dick just loves fruitcakes. We're talking DC's Titans. Let's get into it.
I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz.
Hey. What's up, guys? What's up? How you guys doing? What's up? We are back. This is the DC Titans After Show. We are talking Season 2, Episode 12, called Faux-Hawk. And that name is Faux-Hawk. When I wrote it down, I wrote it like, this Faux-Hawk, I guess they wanted it to rhyme. It is Faux-Hawk.
Yes.
Hey, and I'm glad that you're with me to get me right, to keep me in line.
Keep you in check.
Keep me in check. Hey, speaking of keeping in check, we have Chauncey K Robinson here.
Hey,
How
everyone.
are you doing?
I'm good. We're home stretch for this Titan season.
I know. So it's like it's almost time, but we got to critique it a little bit. And speaking of critique, you don't only just critique here. You do it at Rotten Tomatoes as well.
Rotten Tomatoes, certified film and TV critic, yo.
That's what's up. She's the real deal. Real deal. But hey, we got so much going on. Before we get into that, I am your host, Jeff Williams, and we're talking DC's Titans Season 2, Episode 12, called Faux-Hawk. And there's a lot of stuff going on. We're going to be talking about Rachel and Corey, they're bonding. Kind of like our best friends are back together.
Mm-hmm.
They were fighting together last week. They're doing more talking this week, which is more emotional, which is good to see. It's
necessary.
a little bit of definitely necessary. Then we have Donna and Dove, them being the two detectives this week, trying to find Gar and see what's going on with Cadmus and everything. A little bit of Hank. He's having a lot of trouble, spiraling back down on his drugs. And man, Jason, Rose, what's going on with them? There's a lover squirrel. We get to see Rose's backstory, see how she actually became part of the team, which I think Tehran actually predicted he was never on her team, and he's proven right. As we see, we got a lot of Slade, Jericho. Slade just has a lot of family issues in this episode.
Yes.
And we can't even forget our main character, Dick Grayson. And what we now see is hopefully going to be Nightwing. So finally, after 12 episodes of teasing it, we finally get
you mean
him
like
looking
almost
at it.
24 episodes?
Exactly.
Season 1, we had to go through this. We were supposed to see that at the end of Season 1.
And we technically we didn't see it at the end of this episode. So
yeah.
We saw him look at it.
Yeah.
But hey, that's for another episode, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
But before we get into all that, what were your overall thoughts on this episode?
I thought, this episode, things are... I appreciated that things happened this episode. I just wish that they had happened sooner. I just feel like, we had this episode where the next episode is the season finale. And I feel like this stuff could have been happening maybe 4 or 5 episodes ago, and we could have been building on this stuff that was happening here. And I think this episode for me just drove home the fact that this season has been very uneven when it comes to the pacing. But this episode showed the real potential. When there's episodes like with Corey and Dick's fight with Deathstroke some episodes ago, and this particular one, when there's episodes where it's really strong, it's great. Mm-hmm. But when there's episodes where the pacing is not great, it's like, so much potential. So this was an okay episode for me. Above okay.
Okay, above okay. Yeah, I gotta be with you on that one. It's above okay. It had a lot of great moments because it was leading to this final battle that we're gonna see with Dick and the whole Titans against Deathstroke. And maybe Rose. We don't know if Rose is going to be, whose side she's going to be on, because we know she's going back to San Francisco, but to which team? So that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, the whole episode was a lead-up episode. I always thought the episode before the finale is the one that's like the biggest fight, the bigger episode. But yeah. I'm hoping it wasn't, because this was a great episode, but I'm hoping we see more fights in the next episode. We got a lot of backstory with Rose. We got words are hard. We got a lot of good moments with Rachel and Corey, and it'll be just good to see. But starting with Rachel and Corey, we get to see them kind of be more realistic, be more real with each other, and kind of talk about what's going on. We actually get to see Corey kind of break that wall, because she's always had that like stone cold wall with everybody, and we get to see the real part of her, and it was cool to see. And were you expecting that between them two?
Well, with Corey, I don't necessarily agree that it's always been stone cold. I feel like she's been playful. I feel like up to this point she's kind of not like this rich girl who kind of like gets to live her life, but more like this idea of someone who doesn't take things super seriously all the time. Like she doesn't let life get her down. And I think what we saw with this episode was that and in the previous episode before that, she's kind of in a downward spiral a little bit. I don't even want to say downward. She's in a spiral a little bit, and she doesn't know what to do. Her powers are on the fritz, and what we're seeing is someone who was able to let things kind of flow off her back and kind of being the one to tell other people things would be okay. Like she would tell Dick, it's okay, everything's going to be great. And we're seeing that that's not happening for her right now. So what I'm concerned about, and I love seeing Rachel be there for her. I thought that worked. And hopefully we'll see more of the other cast that she's been there for, be there for her as well. And so hopefully we get a little bit more of that. But it was something to see. I enjoyed that because it's necessary for Corey to get that, like that vulnerability.
Yeah, and it was almost like a big sister, younger sister type of dynamic because, like, at first they were yelling at each other, saying the worst things they can say, and then realizing, like, okay, that actually hit hard.
Yeah.
And then seeing Corey, I guess you like you said, it wasn't really a stone cold wall. I feel like it was more or less she wanted to be in control.
Yes, control. That's a perfect word.
She hasn't been ever since her sister has been brought back into her life. She's lost all control of her family, her home life, and now she's starting to lose like control of her powers. So there's a lot of things that's going on that she can't control, and it's almost taking her spiraling back to where she started when she didn't know even what her real name was.
Yeah.
So it's a lot to see, and it's great to see Rachel there with her. Yeah,
and I think what we've also seen in the past 2 seasons is a lot of focus on, and that's fine, a lot of focus on Dick and his, inner turmoil. And I'm glad that we're seeing glimpses of seeing that with Corey finally, or just a different character a little bit. Like and I've been saying, let's give Dick a little bit of a break. Let's give Grayson a little bit of a break when it comes to the internal brooding forever epic that he sometimes gets put on, and let's give it to someone else. Not that I want to see Corey brooding, but I do want to see an exploration of her things. I mean, she came from a whole different planet. Like, her family's dead now. Her sister basically wants to take over everything. I mean, that's epic stuff. And I'm glad that we're seeing the seeds of that finally happening. And it was nice to see Rachel. I know there have been times when I've talked about Rachel's maturity. And the lack thereof when it comes to some of the decisions she makes. But it was nice that she's always been very perceptive of other people's emotions. And it was nice that they were able to have, it drives home what we saw in the first season of family. Like, we got that family dynamic again. I felt like that was a little lost this season a little bit. Yeah. I don't know if you
Definitely.
felt.
No, I feel the same way. And it was great to see that. It's like she's starting to realize, like, wait, these are my family. I need to protect these people, and stuff hurts. But she saw that it was her family there, but, like, why is it taking so long for her to go after Gar when she knows that Gar's in trouble?
Yeah.
That's the part. It's like, he's your family too. And if you're being realistic about it, Gar being in trouble or Dick being in trouble, Dick can handle himself. He's more apt to handle himself. And Gar, he's younger. She's closer. Well, I don't know if she's closer to him, but, like, she should know that that's probably option A for going to help people.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I agree with that necessarily, because I do feel like with Rachel, although I don't know if that's a romance anymore or not with Gar, I also feel like she's always been very close to Dick in the sense of, like, she saw him out in season 1.
Yeah.
And I feel like with her dream, she couldn't deny that necessarily. I mean, yes, I do agree to some extent that they've kind of stunted the Rachel-Gar relationship a bit this season. I don't know why necessarily, but I feel like in that particular regard, it made sense that they went after Dick. I'm just glad that they did decide, or Corey decided, that they were going to go to San Francisco, because my Dick and Corey heart was a little bit like, oh my gosh, I really was a little annoyed last episode where they broke the door down and he wasn't there. I'm like, can I get a Dick and Corey interaction like once this season? But it made sense that we saw her loyalty. We saw both her and Rachel's loyalty to him to want to go after him. But then they made a decision of, clearly he don't want to be saved. So it was good they're going back.
Yeah, and I had the same frustrations. Like, couldn't he, like, say, hey, thank you for coming out there and saving me. Thank you for doing all this. And then, no, he's like, nope, I'm just not there. But it kind of made sense, because if if they would have had that easy, hey, thank you, they wouldn't have been in an argument in this episode. Like, there wouldn't have been so many things that made sense for this episode.
Yeah.
So I was like, I get it. But also, I was frustrated about last episode.
Yeah, it's like Gracian Ryan has said in the chat, what's up, y'all in the chat, that basically they've stunted most of the characters this season a little bit when it comes to some of the progress that was made last season. I definitely agree with that. I don't know if like,
100%.
I feel like some of the characters have been stunted just in the things that started in the first season, relationships and stuff. And it's like we didn't see a build on top of that in most of those situations. New things were thrown at us, which, you know, we saw this episode.
Yeah, I was going to say, we got a little bit more like with Hank and with Rose, obviously, but there's been a lot of stuff that were stunted. But like you said, Rachel and Corey, they needed to be there. They needed to be there for Dick and go find him. All while now they're going to San Francisco and trying to hunt down Gar because he's in trouble. And he's not the only one that's hunting down Gar. We have Dawn and Donna tag teaming, finding who they need, or finding Gar.
Yes.
Trying to. What was your feelings when you saw that there was just them two?
It was cute. I mean, you know, they have a cute dynamic. It was nice to, first of all, it was nice to see them actually doing some work in the sense of, and I'm not saying don't kill me in the comments that they don't do work, but more so seeing them actually on a mission. I mean, it's kind of what Tehran has said in a couple, like we all had said a few episodes ago, is that they haven't saved anybody this season. Like, they haven't gone on missions and things like that. It's been this overarching, you know, arc with Deathstroke, and so it was nice to see them actually on a mission, and so you got to see the potential of these characters, because I've been frustrated with Dawn and Donna this season, very much so. I felt like Donna was made to be super, like, emo, you know, no offense to the emo people, but like just like super like just down in the dumps constantly, which was not what we got in the first season of her spunkiness and her kind of sass. And with Dawn, I just felt like she was more of a love interest for the characters of Hank and in the past for Dick. And so it was nice to see them do kind of some, you know, do some work and see these characters as heroes as they are.
Definitely. We never, like you said, we never really get to see them fighting. We never really get to see them using all their skills that we know they are. And to an extent, they kind of got lowered when, like, we see Donna, like, fighting, and we know that she can handle herself, but not really shown throughout the television show. So, like, it's good to see them at least doing something more, them using their powers, them out doing missions, helping people, or trying to. But you see that Dawn is with Donna, and that means that Hank is by himself. And we see a little bit more of, like, Hank's story, which we haven't really got to see. They kind of mentioned it a little bit with the drugs and everything, but now it's all on front. Like, they show everything. They show him dealing with losing Dove and everything. And how did you feel when you saw that?
I think Hank's a fun character, and I just don't think he needs all the I don't think him or Dawn need all the focus that they got this season to a certain degree. And I think it was funny seeing him not being able to keep it up in various ways in the scene. And the cage fight. I'm a big fan of wrestling, WWE and, you know, AEW and all that. You know, I love it, and so that was cool. I love that aspect of it, but at the same time I was kind of like, this was another aspect that didn't need to be this episode, the episode right before the finale. I'm like, this should have been maybe somewhere in between season 1 and season 2. Him and Dawn broke up, and then he ended up doing cage fighting and stuff, and then he finds his way back to her and the team or something. That could have been that plot line then, and yet somehow it's episode 12.
Yeah, like, I agree with you. I love the whole scene. It almost brought me back to Arrow. I don't know if you watched that on the CWs. Some of his, like, best moments, in my opinion, are when they go back to the gritty, the cage fighting, that style, which they actually recently got back to in this season as well with his daughter. But I love that style. It's more gritty. It's more real life. And you see him dealing with, like, not mental issues, but, like, dealing with his mental and dealing with himself and doing all that. So it was great to see. But I hate that it was in episode 12. They mentioned the drugs, and they mentioned him going down that line again early in this season. I want to say like episode 2 or 3 when it was him and Dove in the basement. they could have used that episode to show some of that.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. We don't need the whole 20-minute spiel of what we got.
Yeah.
I love him. It makes me care about that character more, but just the timing was not there.
Yeah, I mean, there was just this aspect where it was just like, why are we exploring this now? And I find it very hard to believe that he's going to kick his habit. Like, he's a regular human, you know? Like, he's a strong guy, he's a fighter, but he's not like a superhero in that sense of, like, meta powers. So it's kind of like, am I supposed to believe that somehow in episode 13 that he's like, I'm just gonna quit cocaine again? You know, he's putting that on his gums. Like, he was full-fledged this episode. And it was just kind of like, so I'm supposed to believe he's gonna do a 180. And if he does do a 180, it's kind of like, what was the point of this plot line? If it's just going to be like 2 episodes of him having a spiral, it's like, did they just need to give him something to do? It's kind of like what Ivan Soto said in the chat, you know, with the fans joining us here, where it's kind of like this idea of it's kind of boring in a way. Boring, and I agree with that to a certain degree, but I also think it's not so much that it's boring. I enjoyed the cage scene, but it's like, is it necessary? That's my word I want to use. Is it necessary what happened?
Even to add on to that, and I didn't think about it until you said that, if he does do a 180, just think about all the people that want to watch this for, like, realism.
Right?
Like on a serious note, if you see someone go from being a drug addict to like relapsing and then just like totally being okay and kicking butt the next episode, that's not real. That doesn't show real people's lives, because real people struggle with that, and you don't become the best version of yourself the next day.
Especially going on a binger. He's gonna have to go to rehab for a bit, but it seems like he's gonna be probably fighting next episode. I'm just like,
I guess. He's like,
what was the point?
Give me my suit back. I did that? Like, dog, you blacked out. You had lines everywhere. Like, how are you just going to, like, pop up and be ready? Like, I know a lot of people, even with a hangover, how are you going to pop up and be ready the next morning?
Right? Like, oh, they need me. I got to fight. Now, like I said, I could understand that if he had superpowers, like the Flash, he can't get drunk unless there's, like, some special serum that, you know, that is given to him, and then he can get drunk or something like that. But most, you know, superpowers, you know, they have a bit of a tolerance. That's one of the things about Hank and Dawn, to a certain degree, that they're humans, you know, and that they deal with real stuff and real anger and things of that nature. So just the idea, I feel like it kind of cheapens his journey, that they made him go on this one-off. And I'm like, did they just need him and Dawn to be away from each other for a bit? Like...
Yeah, and I hope this sets up for more. Maybe, like, he goes to rehab next season and we kind of see what him struggle with that.
I don't want to see that.
I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to be hopeful, because I agree with you. I don't want to see it, but maybe that he did that during the summer. He's like, hey, during that summer break.
Can you imagine? Jeff, do not give them any ideas. We do not need a whole episode of Hank in rehab.
No, in the summer. In this. Writers, if you heard me, dude, in the summer,
listening,
like, you know, like,
before
hey,
season 3,
what were you doing last season?
Knowing our luck, they give us a whole flashback episode of that. Tell us it happened, and then we get a whole flashback episode of Hank in rehab.
If it's anything like season 1 and 2, we are getting a whole episode, and it's gonna be in the later part of season 3. In the most randomest spot.
Right? Episode 12, the penultimate episode. Oh, yeah, y'all also want to know where Hank was doing in rehab?
Speaking of the most randomest spots, Gar, for me, it seemed like Gar, not to jump too far, but Gar was in jumping in random spots, attacking people. And at first, I thought it was like the fake simulator part.
Yeah, simulation.
But, like, he was talking to what it seemed to be like his crush, or maybe she was crushing on him, the barista, at the barista thing, and then he just, like, turns on as soon as the music hits again. What did you think about that, and what do you think is, like, the purpose of all this?
Well, I mean, like we saw with Donna and Dawn when they were talking to, I think his name was Walter from Cadmus, and also it was pointed out in the chat that there might have been a little bit of slip when it comes to Donna's lasso. Like, her lasso, as Ivan Soto was saying, it's supposed to be the lasso of persuasion, not truth.
Oh,
so,
okay.
I mean, yeah, maybe she persuaded him to tell the truth. Loopholes. But, like, what Walter did say with that was the fact of that it's part of phase 1. And we don't really know what phase 2 is, although I do think that has something to do with Connor. I'm just wondering what's the big game here for Mercy Graves, right? Because it's like, you know, she focused in on Gar, and like I was saying last week, I was like, okay, he can turn into animals, but is that going to be any match for, like, Rachel, or any match for Corey, of all things? Like, Corey could burn him to a crisp. What is that going to do for, like, why is he part of phase 1? What is the goal here? Like, I don't think Titans haven't, like we've just been saying, they don't save anybody. Yeah, they have not done that. So I don't think they could be seen as a threat to Mercy Graves or to Lex Luthor at this point. So why do they need phase 1 and phase 2 for Titans who they haven't done anything?
Exactly. And they're, I mean, yes, they are going after Gar, like, to get him, but they're not really attacking Cadmus. They're not really worried about Cadmus to an extent. Like, they're worried about Deathstroke, and, like, he's the main villain. So it's like, it's kind of, why is there a secondary main villain?
Yeah, why is there so much focus on this? Like, why is Cadmus, why is, like I got with Connor going, with them coming into Connor's thing, yes, the Titans were kind of pulled into that world of Lex Luthor and Superman and stuff. But now that they have Connor back, why is there still a focus? Why is Mercy Graves and them even focusing on the Titans in any kind of way?
It's almost like they were trying to lead up to like a Lex Luthor being the big bad for next season, and then switching it. So like they're like, oh, we still have this storyline in here. We got to use it.
Which is what we kind of heard with the rumors and the confirmation. Pretty much like that happened in the last couple of weeks, that it was supposed to be somewhat Lex Luthor as the main villain, but it seems like it's not going to be that way. I'm actually happy with who they're most likely choosing, but you're definitely right on that this episode seemed like it was leading to him being kind of the build up for it.
And I hope they do a Trigon on him and just like, oh, kill him off, or not kill him off, but like as in grab both Connor and Gar back without having a big fight or whatever, so they could do that in the first 10 minutes and then get on to Deathstroke.
Okay, I'm gonna have to disagree a little bit. I do not want what happened with Trigon to happen again. I thought that was so anticlimactic, and I cannot. Like, this big old dude, and like we got the last 10 minutes because there was some kind of plot switch, and then he was gone. But like, can we let's build up and let's see it through? Like,
at this point, we only got one episode, so how can we see two different big bads through? I need one of them to be like the Trigon, and I'm saying I'd rather Cadmus because that's more of a short term, less of a threat than Deathstroke.
Okay, I kind of see that, but I'm also leaning towards the fact that we've been doing this overarching thing a bit too long for Titans. I think they need to get to the point where they go on missions. And I think it works well for Doom Patrol, like just to talk about another DC Universe show that I really truly love. I truly love Doom Patrol because they had an arc, right? They had a big, and they actually did save people. But like with Titans, I just feel like they need to have mini arcs going on. I think they need to have it like, oh, this episode, someone's attacking Colorado. I don't know, random. But like, and let's go to Colorado and have stuff happen there a little bit more than what they've been doing with this overarch because I think we've seen this just doesn't work for them as well, pacing wise.
Like they see what the CW does where like baddie of the week and all this, like who's the bad guy of this week? They're like, oh no, we're not going to do that. We're going to do total opposite, and the timing has not worked. They might want to take a note from the the CW show and do baddies like you said.
Baddies of the week. It's okay. Like you're a tie-in show with an ensemble cast.
That makes sense.
It's like you have an ensemble cast. This would be a great way for the ensemble cast to have different things without the way they've been trying to show it, which is this idea of let's go into so and so's backstory for a whole episode. Let's have action happen and let them go on missions and action happens with the characters.
True. Well, we need more action, but other than hopefully there's more action next episode. But like, there wasn't more action later in the episode. All we did was find out more backstory. But
find out more stuff that happened before where we're at.
We moved backwards, and we moved backwards with Rose Rose and Jason, and it was. I don't know how to feel about how he reacted because I get he's frustrated, but he asked for the truth. And he got the truth. And, like, Jason, you can't handle the truth, I guess, because you ran out and you were upset. What were you feeling about the backstory and then, like, his reaction to that?
I appreciate that we've seen a little bit more of a vulnerable Jason this season, a little bit like he's not just the smart behind guy or whatever. But with that, I will say I felt like he's being so ungrateful, not to Rose, I don't really care about Rose, but he's being so ungrateful to the rest of everyone else, to Batman, to Bruce who took him in, of course, and to Grayson, because in the beginning of that, we saw that he got a text from Rachel and saying like all hands on deck, and he's like, well, they've never, like, what? are you doing? Like, what's your goal here? Like, first of all, whose credit card do you have? Because it's like, well, how are y'all spending money? I'm pretty sure you're still on Bruce's dime, you know, and you don't want to help out when stuff is going down somewhere. Like, you have gotten so wrapped. I'm telling you, I stick by what I said, that Rose is like his first girl ever for all of his flirting that he's ever done. I feel like, I think she broke his virginity. I think she took his virginity or something. But, like, because he is way too beat right now. Like, he's just forgotten about his whole life.
When he said breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I'm like, dog, I'm watching and you're too clingy. Like, back up. Like, not only did he, like, let me go on my knees. I want to make this for you every day of my life. I'm like, dog, get back in the kid. Like, what are you doing? Like, she must have hit it right, I guess. Like, dang.
She put it on him.
Oh, my
got his
God.
nose wide open.
Like wide open.
Mean, yeah, like Eric Jordan saying in the chat, like, Jason's story is sad right now.
Yeah.
It's sad because it's like I'm not going to call him pathetic. I'm just going to say he's kind of forgotten, like that kind of spunk that we got in season 1, we lost. And I got that it was replaced with the vulnerability, but I feel like because it was transferred onto this Rose character who we just now met, you know, this season, it just doesn't ring true. And it just seems like a way to have him away from the team. Yeah. And I'm just like, this doesn't make any sense. He's seen me ungrateful. It was fine. Rose's story, I felt like we didn't need all those scenes about her backstory. I feel like maybe she could have just told Jason and be like, hey, you know, my father put me up to this. Because we already had the phone call the previous episode, right? Yeah. So we knew. So why did we need the scenes?
You know what even makes it worse? You remember when she was in the room and she saw the disc or whatever that said, oh, this was my brother's. This is his handwriting. How'd you know that's your brother's handwriting? You didn't even know who he was until after he was dead. And then, as bad as that sounds, but like real, you didn't know.
Cold-blooded.
Like, you didn't know who he was until he was dead. How do you know what his handwriting looked like? I mean, technically you can look at some journals, but like just the timing didn't make sense. It kind of devalues her being mad for that reason.
Well, I got to give you your kudos though, because from the very beginning of the season, you were the one that said Rose was a plant.
Look.
Like, and I didn't believe. I was just like, maybe she really just has issues late. And when it started happening, I was like, okay, maybe. But you were the one from the beginning who was like, no, this don't add up. It's too convenient.
And like,
so kudos, Jeff.
I appreciate it. But like, Slade pretty much said it. He's one for saving people. Him, just like Batman. They need to be saving that person that they kind of see themselves or see themselves in that person. And Slade knew that and abused it.
Yeah.
And my thing is like, Slade, what are you doing? Because you're like, oh, I don't like you. I'm not even going to look at you. Just like, do you want any money? Are you leaving? Like, why are you here? And then the next day it's like, oh, get in my car. I actually love you. Here's my son that died. Like, dog, you just flipped a switch, and like, it's not true. It's not genuine. And I honestly don't think that Rose is going to fall for that.
I feel like what we saw and what we've been seeing, and of course we'll talk about it with Jericho and Slade, is that Jericho was Slade's main favorite child. He didn't know anything about Rose, and I think Rose has been a tool to him. You know, I don't think there's real love there, and I think that's why he dismissed her at first, but then he saw her as, you know,
like
as a means to an end.
Yeah.
He basically dismissed her, but then he saw the Titans were back together, like, oh, I need you now. Like, oh, can you help me out here? You know, kind of a deal. And so I think in that regard, maybe she'll wake up to that, or maybe she has woken up to that. You know, I don't really believe that it's this idea of like, oh, the Titans have showed me family, because honestly, no one really liked her in that house either.
No.
Except Jason. So that wouldn't ring necessarily true to me. But I do see her seeing that it's like, here's a way that I can use my powers for good, and maybe I don't want to just use it for a small vendetta. Yeah. So in that regard, I can care about Rose, but once again, I think there was too much emphasis on her character this season too.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And it's like, at this point, who do you team up with? Because technically the Titans lied at the beginning. They did tell you the truth. But Slade has never told you the truth. He was never around. Technically, he was there financially, but that's not being a father.
Yeah,
that's not being around.
Yeah.
And he's only using you, and you know that, to kill genuine people, because now she's been around him, so she knows that they're not just out here to kill people. She's starting to find out the truth about her brother, and once she actually finds the truth, how will she react? Because I don't think she knows everything yet, right? Or does she? No, Dick told her.
Yeah.
So she knows everything about the truth.
Yeah, she was around.
So
and And it's being asked by those following, whether or not we thought it was out of nowhere that she was a plant. But like I said, Jeff, you saw it from jump, and we did see hints.
It was timely.
Yeah.
It was so timely that like he got there at the same time that she needed help, and it's like, oh wait, that's his daughter.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like it's just too many
hints.
And for all of them, I mean, well they also said she shouldn't be here. There's a lot of people that disagree with it. Dick is like, no. She's gonna stay, and that's it. It's like, nah, like there was too many things that add up.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think it's one of those things. Maybe it's history repeating itself a little bit with the whole thing with Rose. They sought Jericho out, but even once both Jericho and Rose got to be around the Titans, they saw that this is a genuine group. They don't save anybody yet, but this is a genuine group of people, and they don't deserve whatever like negative thing their father of Rose and Jericho is trying to give them. So in that case, Deathstroke's downfall so far has been his thirst for revenge and hardship and killing has made it so his children pull away from him. That's the tragedy of his character right now.
And like his daughter, his son is pulling away even in his mind. He's like going as far as trying to get his dad killed by physically moving his body into the bus that was the oncoming bus. So we see that Jericho is alive to an extent.
Yeah.
He's in Slade's body. My only question is, how does one get out of that situation? Because his body is gone. Mm-hmm. He was stabbed. Jericho's body is gone. I don't know what they did. They may have put him in a coffin or something.
It's decayed. Probably is gone.
So, like, how physically does he get out of there? And then it doesn't even seem like Slade is trying to get out. So it's not like he really cares that much about Jericho.
Yeah. I wonder, what's the theory you think of the fact of how Jericho was able to go in his body and not say Dick's body? Because it's like, do you think it's because they have the same DNA and like stuff like that? Because he's been able to join into other people's bodies before, and he had to. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, I wonder, like, as soon as he jumped into Slade's body, did he think that did Slade immediately trap him? Because he's been able to jump into people's body, maybe not back out to his body. His body's dead. But maybe when Slade was walking around, why not jump into the next person the next person?
I kind of assumed it was like, hey, you have to go back to your own body and then use your powers to jump into another. Kind of like a doorway. I mean, like a doorway. Like, hey, you got to go back home and then jump into another person's body.
Okay, so you think it's not ability to because you think it's because his body was his home base, and since he no longer has a home base, he can't jump out to jump back in somebody.
That's my thinking on it, because if not, that just means Jericho is only a spirit in the fact that he's never had a actual body. Yeah. Because if you could just jump, you could be anybody at any time and just say you're Jericho. So that was my thinking on it. He needed his body to jump. So that's why I don't know how he can still be alive.
Yeah, that's why I'm wondering, because other people have been saying, it's like, why not just jump to a new body? That's why I'm thinking Slade trapped him in there. Maybe it's because of Slade's powers and mental capabilities himself that Slade didn't let him jump into anyone else. Because we saw in the beginning of this episode, he was trying to break out, but it didn't seem like he was trying to break out to get out of Slade's body. He was breaking out to get control of Slade's body. So I'm wondering, is that one and the same? Is it like he can't leave and he can't control, so he's just stuck in that white room, which is torture to a way, right? Having to look through this guy's eyes, see him as the monster killing things and like that. And I just wonder, with as much as Slade has tried to be, in the beginning at least, when we saw that backstory episode of trying to be a loving father to Jericho, did it seem a little out of nowhere that it was like he was willing to just trap him there and say, my gift to you is to take out the Titans? But it's like the Titans were then dormant for 5 years. So it's like, then you kept your son in your body. Yeah. So why haven't you been trying to figure out a way to make it so your son can live again? I'm just
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's kind of out of character for what we've seen of Slade so far.
I think he's honestly, every time he tries to be a good father or say, I'm doing this for you, he even gets called out and said, no, you're not. You're doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
But I think it's all a lie. I think it's him being lying to his daughter, to his son, and to anybody that he needs, honestly, because his actions say the total opposite thing. For 5 years, you don't have to worry about the Titans, but you have your son in your ear or in your head. work to get him out, work to save his life. Don't just trap him in there. So there is no love. If you're trapping somebody in there for 5 years, there's no love there. And
you think it's the character, right? Not necessarily the writing itself being kind of a loose end? Because I feel like maybe it's a little bit of a loose end.
See,
like, why for 5 years why wouldn't he try to get him into a different body?
I'm not gonna say it's not the writing, because there has been so many evidence where it has been the writing. I think my mind is just more hopeful.
Yes, you're very hopeful.
You know what? I'm trying to find point A to point B. How in the world did we get there? And I just found a way. I think that's where I was at, kind of pulling straws.
I feel like it's a little bit of a plot hole.
Yeah.
I just find it very hard to believe he is not, with everything at his arsenal and everything he knew about himself, that he wouldn't be trying to get his son in another body all this time. Just seems weird.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. You know what didn't make sense to me, well, on top of that, was when Dick went to the shoe store and they were talking about fruitcakes the whole time.
Yeah.
They were talking about fruitcakes, and I just didn't understand. It was a dope moment in that, like, one, they didn't really talk about who he was.
Yeah.
They kind of told him that he knows Batman or Bruce Wayne, so that was cool. But like at first, he sounded like a broke up girlfriend about his suit. I'm like, did they have some kind of lover squirrel? Like this, y'all need a room? Like what's going on? He's like, we all know you like fruitcakes or something like that, and brought out a fruitcake, light the thing. I'm like, dog, it's a suit. You built it to get shot at, to do things. If it burns, it burned.
Yeah, I kind of understood Stu's point, though, because, like, Robin, Grayson, Dick, he basically chose to burn the suit.
Yeah.
Like, he chose to burn the suit. It's a little different, right? It's not like he got caught in a fire. Yeah. Oh, I had to take it off. Sorry, man. It was like, no, this is no longer. Because, you know, when it happened, we all thought that was so symbolic, and we also thought Nightwing suit was coming, like, the next episode, but it wasn't. But we thought it was such an epic moment because it's like, yes, he's burned suit, but none of us thought, like, who actually went through the work to make that suit, you know? Like, somebody made that suit and you just burned all their work. So I thought it was kind of cute that it kind of came back around of, like, we don't think about in the superhero world that who makes these suits for these people, right?
Because like, oh, nope, I need a new suit. Whip that up real quick. I got it in the next scene.
And no one's I mean, if I was a suit maker and I made really cool suits like that, I'd be kind of annoyed. It kind of reminds me of Cisco on The Flash. You know, he makes all this work. He cares about his suits. That's always the joke, you know?
What I did love on top of that is how, like, the other characters in that, I guess, cave or whatever you want to call it, they were also kind of giving him shade as well. I was like, oh, so you just like burning things now. And then like, I was like, all right, cool. Like, just give him a couple jabs.
Yeah.
They knew he was coming, but you got to kind of give him tough love. I'm like, hey, we actually worked to do this. So I agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah, I thought it was cute because I was like, yeah, there is somebody behind this suit that makes this stuff. And you're just kind of burning their workmanship because you're having your brooding phase.
Yeah,
like, rude.
It's like diva.
Right?
But yeah, there was that was cool to see, and we kind of finally get to where we need to be, and that is to the suit, to see Nightwing. And I hope we're gonna see it next episode. If we don't, you know, we're boycotting. that's a different discussion for hopefully for next week. But before we get into the special segment and everything, I want to talk about how he did go talk to Slade's wife. I don't want to forget about that. It was kind of interesting to me because her dynamic changed. She knew that Jericho's in his body. She knew that Slade's in the other room, but she seemed too calm for me to be there. And then now she's like, I knew you were coming. That's why I got the water. And then she seemed nice, and she wanted him to help. Like, why didn't you say this earlier? I just didn't understand that whole situation.
Well, Slade wasn't in the house then, was he?
Not this time.
I think maybe that was it. Maybe it was that she had to put on a front because of Slade's such hatred that he's transferred from himself about killing Jericho to these characters. So it's kind of like, you know, maybe she was putting up a front, you know, and this time I think maybe she felt like, okay, you're actually going to do something. You're going to save my son now. Because, I mean, I think at the end of the day, you know, Jericho's mom really loved him. You know, that's the one tragic figure in this whole situation. She did nothing wrong. She loved her son. She tried to protect him. And she's been caught in the midst of this Titans versus Slade dynamic. And she lost her child. So I think she sees that there's potential for her son to finally be free. And I think she sees a hero in Dick, and maybe she feels like he's finally going to like step up to really earn that forgiveness that he asked for previously.
Yeah, and like you can still see that she has not hatred for him, but not love. It's not always love there. And,
yeah, of course not.
And there's not going to be, because she knows that at the end of the day, they're both, Dick Grayson and Slade are both in control, and kind of not in control, but they're also to do with the death of her son.
Yeah.
So like, she, in my opinion, the only reason she was still with Slade is because she knows Jericho's there. Mm-hmm. And the only reason that she's even talking to Dick is because she knows that Dick might be able to save Jericho.
She's a mother on a mission.
Exactly. And like, I'm just dealing with you. I don't love you. I have nothing for you except I got a mission for you. That's it.
I lost my son in all of this superhero mumbo jumbo y'all been doing, and I want him back.
Yeah, and hopefully Nightwing does, because I'm speaking it into existence. Nightwing, we're getting him. He's gonna take out Slade. I don't know how in the world Jericho's coming back. They're gonna bring a dead body back to life, hopefully.
Yeah, I don't know how that's gonna work. Maybe he'll find a different body. I will say, I love this build up to Nightwing. I really do. At the end of the day, though, Dick is still human. Mm-hmm. And it's like this real crazy build up that he has to be the one to kill them. Like, does he though?
And like, she was like, I heard you have special powers and you're able to do. I'm like, what did you hear? Like, I know he's like really good at fighting and like acrobats, but like, my guy, like, there's Superboy and like Corey and Raven. Why'd you hear about this guy?
Like, you know, like it's a little like and I think
who told the story?
Yeah, I think that's where the misplacement of this build up to Nightwing for a whole nother season got misplaced. I feel like we could have had that at the end of season 1, because there's this build up like only Nightwing can beat Deathstroke, but that's not true, is it? You know, that's honestly storylines. Power wise, that's just not true. But we built up this storyline. Like, yes, he has to for his own self. I feel like Dick has to finally do this for himself. But let's be real here. Someone else could have taken him out a minute ago.
Yeah, thank you. It's like that doesn't make sense. And she was almost the dope of this week.
Yeah.
And that leads us into our special segment. And I always want to say, who's the dope of the week?
That wasn't very smart.
That wasn't very smart. Chauncey, who was our week's dummy of the day?
Dummy of the day. You know, it's kind of a mixture for me. I'm gonna say I feel like Jason Todd a little bit, just because he was so blindsided by lust, or whatever, first timers and stuff, that he couldn't see, you know, what the issue was. And I know this is a little controversial, but I kind of think it was also Jericho a little bit. I think, you know, him jumping into his father's body after seeing everything that happened was not the smartest thing. I know I'm going to get roasted for that, but because it's like, yeah, he's dying. What else can he do? But like, I mean,
go backwards, hit up Dick.
Hit up Dick, or just float for a bit. You know, I don't know.
Check out, like, hey, like, where should I land
let
at?
Me go somewhere. You know,
I feel that.
Yeah,
because that was not smart.
No,
going into the mind of not only your dad, but like a villain, a killer, you know, someone that has not your powers, but powers and are stronger.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense.
I mean, I get it. He had a knife in him. Couldn't think too straight.
Oh God, I guess we're going with you. Like, yeah. So he's definitely, that really wasn't that smart.
Yeah.
And for me, I gotta go. I mean, I'm gonna go with Donna and Dove. And
really?
I just don't think it was smart that they try to go take down, because they talked about how we're gonna just take down Cadmus, us two.
True.
If they learned I just don't understand, because you talk about Dick going off doing all these things by himself. How about you take your own words and get the team together, whatever team you have left, because you don't want to get Hank. He's off doing drugs for no reason. They decided to leave Corey and Rachel. I'm like, it's just like, take your own advice, get the team together of sorts, because you're not going to take down a military base or whatever Cadmus is and their power.
Exactly.
You're not going to take it down with just two people.
I agree with you on that. That actually, that makes a lot of sense.
I literally go down, I was like, you're going to take it down by yourself? Why? Like, where are the rest of the people?
Like, you got Donna, who was beaten up by Slade not too long ago, and then you got Dawn, who has no powers. Like, what are you guys going to do?
She's like, we got this. Do we though?
Funny enough, Eric Jordan actually in the chat said that Hank was the dummy of this episode for not wearing a condom during that hookup.
My God. For what reason? And then not only that, he was dummy for wearing his superhero suit in a cage.
Yes.
Oh yeah, so
Honorable
Hawk,
mention, Hank.
yeah, it's like honorable mention. Not only that, he was stealing stuff with his suit. Or I guess he wasn't stealing stuff with his suit. He was selling his suit so he could get drugs. I'm like, dog, you just stayed being dumb the whole episode.
Yeah.
So
There's a lot of dumb stuff this episode, I guess.
There's a lot of dummies this week. But hey, we'll see who's dummy next week. But because there's gonna be a lot. We got a lot to look forward to. But
a lot of dummies.
But before we get into next week, we got some news.
And gossip.
Ooh. Give me all the tea.
Mainly gossip because, as you guys know, we have the season finale coming up, and there have been two major rumors going on. One is who's going to die, because you can't have a season finale without someone dying. Right?
I need death.
Right?
Give me death.
Yeah. So there's very strong emotions, and some, leakers who are very notable in terms of on the internet of leaking very noteworthy and usually true, very times true rumors that end up becoming fact, is that the rumor has it that Donna is not long for this world, that we will be losing Donna very soon. And that we may also be losing Jason Todd, that's a second runner-up. But the very strongest rumors kind of leaning towards truth is that Donna's going to die. I feel like that you can't lose too much hope on that, though, because of the fact that in the comics she does die too, but she does come back. Yeah. So, we all know in superhero worlds, people die. Look at Jericho. And they get to come back in some fashion or form.
Jason Todd does too, correct?
He does die in the thing, but at the Joker's hands in the comics. So, I don't know unless they switch that out. But that's the two strongest rumors, that Donna and Jason Todd are not long for this world, and that we will be losing both of them, or are strongly leaning towards losing Donna in the season finale.
That's unfortunate.
Yes.
If I had my choice, it'd be Dove, but it is what it is.
Dove.
Sorry.
Same. I'm sorry,
love
Dove.
you both, but
yeah.
my bad.
And then the second rumor that's going on, a very strong sentiment of who, oh yes, y'all, for those of you who are probably going to hate this news, we are probably going to be getting more characters next season.
More backstories.
Yeah,
more
flashbacks.
Let's
yes.
do it.
The rumors is that we are probably going to be getting Wally West and also Roy Harper next season. Now, I think we saw Donna text Roy or get a call from Roy a few episodes. So we're probably going to see him show up, maybe probably because of Donna's death. Maybe he'll show up and he'll be mad at somebody. And also Wally West, perhaps, which is awesome if we got Wally West.
What's crazy is I'd be very surprised because we do have Wally West in the CW on The Flash, but he's not around anymore. He's off doing his own things, but it'd be weird to kind of have two of the similar superheroes on the show. Yeah. So I am 100% down.
I'd be down for Wally West.
If they do have a Wally West, I'm down.
Yeah, so let us know in the chat, who do you want to join next season? Do you want anyone to join next season? Out of all of this, although I'd be fine
exactly.
with Wally West, I actually don't want anyone new.
That's definitely an option. Who do you want? Don't want any.
Do you think this roster is full, y'all? I think it's full. Let us know.
Should we subtract?
Also, do you think Donna is not long for this world? Make your predictions and in the comments and whatnot, because we love hearing from you, and we always love and give us a like and all that great stuff. 5 stars. We love it when you do.
Exactly. They literally make us the ESPN and TV
They
dog.
really
so
do.
We thank you guys for that. Before we leave, quick predictions. What's happening next on the season finale of DC's Titans?
I think Donna is going to die. That's really my prediction. I'd rather it be Dove, but I think if Donna dies, it's going to be the most significant. And I think Jason's going to leave the show. I don't think Jason's going to die. I think he's just going to be like, I don't want to be around anymore, and I need to go off on my own.
I agree with that. I want that too for Jason, and I really want Rose to go off with him. No, and and not even in a bad way, because I want them to have. I love their dynamic. I love how not crazy, but they don't really abide by the rules. Yeah. They're kind of wild cards, and I love that, and I think they need to exploit that, and I think that'd be a great for a second show. I think somehow they're going to get rid of this Cadmus problem quick, and I think it's going to be Superboy and Agar and the whole Teen Titans fighting Slade, and I think it's going to be a big epic battle, but we will see, and that is it for us. We have one more week. The whole crew should be back. We will talk about it all, and I can't wait to talk about it with you guys. So I thank you guys, as always, for coming in, and before we leave, where can they find you, though? You can find me on Rotten Tomatoes, as I'm a certified film and TV critic, and also on my YouTube channel, where I review horror and dark fantasy movies on Twisted Woman CKR. That's what's up. What's up? And you guys can follow me at Jeff Will Jr. on all your social media platforms. But like I said, we appreciate you guys sticking with us, and we will see you guys next week. Peace.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.